We've got another session of questions that we're going to be going through today, and you've got a list of those.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good ones.
Yeah.
Some really good ones.
So the first question, you want to go straight in?
Well, yeah. Unless you want to do small talk.
No.
No, you don't want to do small
No.
talk. Okay.
Okay. So the first question is from Christine. Why is Cain's genealogy listed down to Lamech, and what do verses 23 and 24 mean?
23 and 24
Of
chapter 4.
Genesis chapter 4.
That's what I'm gathering. So, Genesis chapter 4 is before the flood.
Yes.
So we will set the context. And the genealogy of Cain comes down, obviously, from Adam. Cain was the son of Adam. And he did something.
Yes, he murdered his brother,
He
Abel.
murdered his brother. So we have the first
Murder.
and the first murderer in the Bible. And his genealogy comes down to Lamech and stops. That's it. We don't have any other genealogy after Lamech. Let's have a look at the genealogy.
So we'd need to go to about verse 16.
Yeah. So this is after Cain had killed his brother, and after the Lord had dealt with him. It's probably worth getting the context. Let's go from verse. We'll go from verse 9, and let's just read from there.
Okay.
The Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and bare Enoch, and he builded a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. And Adah bare Jabal, and he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah also begat Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. There's a lot that's going on in here. The extension of Cain's genealogy goes down to Lamech, but it goes beyond that. It goes to Lamech's sons, and there it stops. Well, it's definitely going to stop, because we know that the entire line of Cain was destroyed in the flood. Cain was the first cursed man in the Bible, and his line was therefore cursed. His entire line was destroyed in the flood and wouldn't see the light of day anymore after that. We also have another first in here, and that is Lamech has more than one wife. We have 2 wives. So the first instance of polygamy is found in the line of Cain. First murder is found there. First line of polygamy is found in the line of Cain. And then we've got this interesting passage where Lamech calls out to his wives, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. And he says here, I've slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. And there's a clear recognition of the effect of murder that it has upon the murderers themselves, and it affects the murderers themselves in every way. It affected Cain, and it affected Cain in a way that he was, sent away from the presence of the Lord, no more a part of God's people. But Lamech seems to be, what would indicate here, quite a proud man, and also potentially a man who would give justification for him killing this young man. There seems to be indication that might be the case, because he sort of sets this bar, saying, well, if anyone who killed Cain, vengeance would be upon him sevenfold, then certainly against Lamech even 70 and sevenfold. This idea that, feeling justified in his sin, if God would take vengeance upon those who would kill Cain, surely God will take vengeance upon those who would kill me. Even more than Cain. I'm more righteous than Cain. Sort of, that's the impression that you get from it. There's no other real way of being able to interpret that differently. That's the impression that you get. You've got a picture of a proud man who feels justified in his sin. Because we remember something about the scriptures, and that is that murder had only happened at that first instant with Cain. It's not seen as a regular event in the early portion of the Bible. But certainly there seemed to have been violence upon the earth progressing towards the latter end, just before the flood. Jesus speaks about the days that are coming on the earth. He says that these are going to be like the days of Noah, and it speaks about it as they were, eating and drinking, and then sudden destruction came upon them. Yet the days of Noah are also days filled with violence, and incredible violence. Matter of fact, the Bible goes on and talks about how there are the angelic realm that are actually placed into the pit in Peter's epistle, and these very individuals were placed there from the time of the flood because of their sin.
In chapter 6, Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, mentions that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Yeah.
So obviously from Cain onwards, it just the evil increased.
The evil increased. Yeah, and there seems, and what we see in Scripture is that there is a demonic realm that's overseeing all of this, and that's what's building up this violence within man. There seemed to be no restriction of the violence upon man and the earth. And the other thing is, we see the flood come across really, really quickly in Scripture. And this is just a little bit of a side issue, but the ages of all these individuals were incredibly long years. Methuselah was the oldest man in the Bible. Now, this is not the Methuselah that seems indicated in Cain's line. This is the Methuselah in the line of Seth.
Well, that was Methusael.
Methusael, yeah,
and
that's
then you've
right.
got Methuselah.
Then you've got Methuselah, that's right.
But there were two Enochs. Because I was going to mention before that this Enoch here, listed in Cain's line, is not the Enoch that walked with God.
And there's two Lamechs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
There's another Lamech in the line of Seth. So that's that one there, which means to lament, is what the name actually means.
Well, obviously the first Lamech didn't.
Yeah. No, he clearly didn't. So what we see here is a prideful man, a man who is not expecting judgment to come swiftly. And Ecclesiastes chapter 8 has a passage in it which tells us of the corruption that can potentially come upon the world when justice isn't dealt with quickly.
Where is it?
Yeah, Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 11. It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. That's a really interesting thing, because on the one hand you would like to see judgment or evil being dealt with very, very quickly, and people learn their lessons very, very quickly. But because there is no judgment executed speedily, then it is in men to continue to do evil. Okay, we haven't got any judgment come against us, therefore we can continue, we can continue to do the wrong thing. I remember growing up, I stole something, and I was dealt with really, really quickly, and I didn't do it again. That was it. But there are individuals who might delve into something that's criminal, and they are not dealt with speedily.
Imagine if our politicians were dealt with speedily.
Well, yeah, exactly right. Because there's no recompense of reward to so many people, and politicians keep to just handballing and passing the buck further and further down the line. It encourages other politicians to continue to do evil. Well, nothing happened to them. They didn't go to prison, Yet there's evil being done within nations around the world, within political leaders around the world. You should be rightly seeing these people put in jail. We should be seeing that. But because we're not seeing that happen, then that evil continues within man underneath. If I mentioned yesterday, I was on a building site talking to another project manager, and we said, if the political leaders won't accept responsibility for their actions, well, what can we expect from their subjects? And this is exactly the same. Here we have a man who's not expecting to have judgment poured against him. 70 and sevenfold. So if anybody tries to come against me, if any of the avengers of blood, this is a young man. If his parents, if his brother, if his brothers, if his uncles, if those relatives of his loved ones try and avenge his death upon me, then vengeance will be 70 times sevenfold against them. A very, very proud individual is Lamech, and a fitting end as far as an evil individual goes to the line of Cain.
Absolutely. Just in that last, do you think where it says, I have slain a man to my wounding and a young man to my hurt, do you think that's just physical, or do you think, you were talking about pride, do you think, he killed him because maybe that person hurt his pride, not just a physical wounding, or could it be a bit of both?
It gives you the impression,
because it mentions it twice, because it says I slain a man to my wounding and a young man to my hurt. Yeah. It seems to be that's the experience that's a natural experience that he's expecting, because after that he says, if Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. I think there's a recognition there that in slaying a man to his wounding and slaying a man to his hurt, there is a recognition or an identification that there is going to be vengeance against him. So he realises that there's going to be recompense, that there's going to be something that's going to come against him. I don't think it's because the man hurt him, because the line of the sentence doesn't seem to go that way. It's not because the young man had hurt him or wounded him, therefore he killed. I think what he sees is he has killed, and he has killed a man to his wounding, and a young man to his hurt. Yep.
How else could you could frame that? We can do a work against ourselves, and that's what he's effectively done.
That man may not have actually done anything to him.
Not
He's just killed him, and
and we don't know what the motivation was. We don't know what the evil was done, if there was any evil done against Lamech at all. But he says, I have wounded a man to my wounding. I've slain a man to my wounding and a young man to my hurt. If there wasn't this decree by him saying, God will avenge anyone who kills me for this work, and 70 and sevenfold, there wouldn't be a need to actually even use that phrase in there.
Yeah.
There's a recognition that he's killed him to his own wounding, and in the end he would be killed for the life that he had taken.
Okay. Gotcha. Alrighty.
All right.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next question.
Okay.